All right, we're live. Alabama has lost in the Final Four. Their season is over. 86-72 to UConn, a team that is a complete machine. Complete machine. Let's just get some of your comments here. Andrew says, what a run. Absolutely, a run nobody thought about. Luke says, talk about Jim's primetime location after the half. He was there the whole game. They had just not shown that shot yet until after the half. Andrew says, surprised we didn't shoot more threes. That's what was crazy about this, is a lot of people said Alabama needed to hit as many as 23s to win this game. I thought somewhere 16 to 18. If you think they needed to hit 20 to win the game, they only attempted 23. That was an amazing defensive performance by UConn to hold Alabama to 23 three-point attempts. And when you consider UConn shot 25, so Bama was 11 of 23 from beyond the arc. They were 7 of 10 at one point. So Alabama finished 4 of 13 for their last 13 from beyond the arc. So they went cold from beyond the arc. But when you consider they were 11 of 23 and UConn was 10 of 25, what Alabama was going to have to win that game on, UConn matched them shot for shot, basically. So that's really no way to win this game. So UConn they were just that good. And then Alabama clearly could do nothing at the rim. That game was impossible at the rim for Alabama. I mean, there was just nothing on the inside. All those drives and high arcing shots off the backboard that Sears has made a living on this year and that Strada is very good at, they were just not there. They were just not there. Brett for New Mexico, disappointed. But as he points out, in his opinion, Nate Oates has Alabama rolling, and he's okay with the outcome. They weren't supposed to be there. That is true. They were not supposed to be there. Let's see. Just checking out some of these comments. NH3425, 7 turnovers, lost by 14. That's the ball game. 8 turnovers technically. Don't want to be that guy, but I'll just be precise. But yeah, 8 turnovers. That's actually pretty low for Alabama, but they only forced 4. UConn only turned it over 4 times. That team does so much, so well. Alabama had 6 points off those 4 turnovers. UConn only had 8 off Alabama's. So, you know, the thing to me that is the difference, and obviously the end of the game plays out a little bit differently if it's a tight game. UConn was burning some clock there. But, you know, you look at what Alabama probably needed to do from beyond the arc. I think most people thought minimum 15 threes for Alabama. They hit 11. So 4 more threes, it's a 2-point game, 86-84 there at the end. Now, again, UConn is playing that differently. I completely understand that. But I think you see that was really the magic number. Alabama needed to be 15 to 18 threes to have any shot at winning that game. And that was probably the number that they needed. Zach says, hell of a game, weird season. He enjoyed the run. And the show / chat has been electric all basketball season. Thank you. We'd like to try to be electric. Landmine Believer, absolutely right. Need a rim protector from the portal. Alabama does not have that guy. They do not have that guy. And Klingon could do anything you want. How many did that guy end up with? Klingon scored 18. Boy, it felt like a lot more than that. 8 of 14 from the field. 18 and 5 boards. Castle was the guy that led them in scoring with a 21, but Klingon had 18. Mark Sears, again, 24. Guy scores 20 points every time he puts a uniform on. It's crazy. Crazy that he scores that many. John, Nelson absolutely dropped the hammer on Klingon. He did. That was when I thought, hey, that might be a slight turning point in this game. And it really was not. But I thought maybe that was a slight turning point in this game when Nelson dunked it and just posterized Klingon, but Alabama just really could not follow up with that. Barry, UConn is really good. Yes, they are. I don't know if they're going to beat Purdue, though, because Klingon will not have that type of game against Edey. That's going to be one heck of a matchup. UConn is really, really good. But again, I'll say it, and I said it all season long about Georgia football. that there is a reason teams don't win 3 straight national championships. It just doesn't happen. And Georgia didn't. There is a reason teams don't go back to back in college basketball. So I think I don't know what the point spread will be. I'm sure it's already out. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what the point spread will be, but I got Purdue in that one. I think Purdue will win it. Bama JT. Bama competed. I thought they would be in it at the end, but UConn was better. What a year. I mean, like at the under 4, was it a 6-point game? I think if I'd told you I don't have the play-by-play here, but I think if I'd told you it was a 6-point game or whatever it was at the under 4, I think most Alabama fans probably would have taken that, and it got away from Alabama there at the end. But yeah, that was probably more competitive, I think, than what most of the analysts thought and a lot of the odds makers thought, obviously. But when you got to the end score, it's right where the odds makers put it, right? So they're pretty good at this. Alabama, just regular old Alabama there. Rebuilding year, quote unquote. I'm proud of this team, excited for the future. The crazy thing about the future is, other than Estrada, this entire team has eligibility left. So this entire team could be back next year. Great game, great year. Final score will not indicate it. It was an entertaining game. It would have been more entertaining, and obviously most of the people if not everyone that's not an Auburn fan that is in here, would like for this to have happened, for Alabama to have performed better. It would have been a better game if Alabama had been a little bit hotter shooting in the second half. Well, they have 7 threes, I believe, in the first half. Yeah, 7 in the first half, and they only end up with 11. So that's not Alabama basketball. Alabama basketball right now, if they hit 7 more in the second half, now you've got a far more exciting game. I would 100% agree with that. NH3425 was a rugby fest of a game. The free throws did not end up all that different. I think it was 14-19. Am I right about that? 14 of 18 UConn. So it was 18-11. My apologies. 9 of 11 for Alabama. So not that many free throws for as much contact as was in that game. But yeah, only 11 free throws for Alabama, only 18 for UConn. So you would have thought watching that game, I agree, in H3425, it was a very physical game. You would have thought there would have been a lot more free throws in that game than there were. Pre-shovel, over/under on fouls called on the Big Man Monday. They don't call any on either tonight. I don't know. I think they'll let those two guys just clobber each other. Yeah, I know it won't be the same officiating crew, but I think those two guys are going to clobber each other. I mean, they are. That's 2 big old boys right there, and obviously Edey. I mean, I don't know if you saw the video that is on Next Round Live of Shaq talking to Zach Edey, and Edey is bigger than Shaq. I mean, that just blows my mind. Shaq's one of the biggest humans I've ever seen in person, and he's talking. He and Edey are talking back, behind the arena there, outside the arena in the hallways, and Shaq's looking up to Edey, and I'm like, my gosh, how big must Edey be in person? I just can't imagine how big he must be. Slobber knocker, Chris says. Big punches thrown back and forth most of the game. Score doesn't indicate that. A little closer game probably than the score indicates. I don't disagree. Better team won. UConn's an amazing team. Should have been a Bama lead at the half. Yeah, I think Alabama kind of let it get away from them a little bit there. I'll tell you where it kind of changed in the first half. There was what I thought was a missed call down underneath on an out of bounds. And I think UConn went on like a 6-0 run after that. And Alabama was able to cut it back to 4 at the half. But I thought it was going to be Bama's ball into the basket there. And I think at the time it was a 2-point game, if I'm not mistaken. Barry says Klingon is a big 7-2. And you're right, it'll probably be a little 1970s. How many threes did Purdue hit? Wasn't a ton. Purdue from beyond the arc, 10 of 25, more than I thought. 10 of 25 from beyond the arc. So both them and UConn shot about the same from the outside. UConn was 10 of 25. So those two teams played a lot alike today. A lot alike. Deborah, proud of the team considering how the regular season ended. I think a lot of people, the way that regular season ended, and then ending with the way Alabama played against Florida in Nashville, I don't think there were a lot of people that were predicting Final Four at that point. So, yeah, to be in the Final Four, pretty remarkable by this team. Do not forget MyBookie.ag, code next round. MyBookie.ag, code next round. They bring you the game. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag, code next round. MyBookie.ag, code next round. They will have the Monday Night National Championship game. If you want to play that, you can play it right there at MyBookie.ag. If I see a point spread, by the time we get off, I'll let you know. But you could have played either of those games today, the favorites winning both those games, or anything. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag, code next round. MyBookie.ag, code next round. NC would bet, if he did so, on UConn. You think Purdue is going to lose by more than Bama did? That would be an awful impressive win by UConn if they do that. But listen, that's what that team's done all year. You just watched the closest game they've basically played in 2 years in the NCAA tournament when you think about it. It's pretty remarkable that nobody has gotten any closer to them than that through this tournament. Paul says, talk about the officiating. Look, I thought they missed a lot of things. I mean, Hurley argues on every call, so it's kind of hard to go by him. Like, they thought Nick Pringle flopped when his guy wrapped him around his waist basically and almost threw him down. But I know Hurley was working the officials pretty hard, and there was a phantom call on Pringle underneath, but they paid that back on the phantom call on Ryland Griffin when he slipped. It was not a well-officiated game. Very poor officiated game. And I say that on both sides. I'm not saying Alabama got robbed by the officiating. I just don't think it was I don't think it was a well-officiated game at all. Let's see. Shmoo Jones says Sears should stay and make that money. I've seen him in some mock drafts in the second round. I don't know what they will do, but we'll see if he decides to stay at Alabama. He's got eligibility left. He's 6'1", 6'6". There is not a huge market for that in the NBA right now. 6'6" guard, but the way he shoots and he's got range. You saw, I think it was the last 3 he made, if I'm not mistaken. The range he's got, and you saw that all year, especially in that Clemson game. Chilled out. We got away from our strength midway through the first half. I will say that there was a time in the half. So 10-minute mark, halfway through the first half, Alabama was on pace for 92. So they were dictating the pace at that point. That's when they were hitting threes and dictating the pace. Then you got to half, and Alabama was on pace for 80. So you saw that UConn had dictated the pace a little bit. And then when they started the second half in the first, the up to the under 16 and then the under 12, you could see UConn dictating the pace. And Alabama went cold from outside. So when Alabama's not hitting threes, it's going to be difficult for them to dictate pace. Michael asked me, does Diet Coke at 10 o'clock ever keep me awake? Not at all. I'll be right to sleep as soon as the show's over. Caffeine just does not have that impact on me. I don't know why. I could drink Diet Coke and go right to bed, which is good because I love Diet Coke. So I'm glad I can drink it and go right to bed. Deborah says Purdue will beat UConn. I agree with her. David says very competitive game. Could have been a little more competitive, but it was a good game. Taylor Corn checking in. They're waiting to go to the locker room there. A little tea, and Dunaway says hashtag pray for Dunaway. NC does not think Purdue will hang with UConn. Will says Bama went ice cold from 3 in the second half. No doubt about it. Chuck said they needed at least 15. I made that point a moment ago. Now, again, at the end of the game, UConn was slowing it down and burning a little bit of clock. But Alabama, if you wanted to play that game, 11 of 23 from beyond the arc. If you give them 15 made threes, that's obviously 12 more points. It's a 2-point game. So I think 15 got you in the window. Now, again, I don't think UConn would have only scored 86 if Alabama still had their foot on the pedal. Alabama was going to have to score into the mid-90s to win that game. But I think, I thought 15 to 18 threes, you give Alabama 18 threes, they're knocking on the door 90 right there. So I think that was the number Alabama really needed. So they ended up with 11, give them 7 more. It's 21 more points. Got 93 right there. I think that would have been enough to win the game. Robin says Edey is not good. He is just tall. I think he's college good. I don't know that he's NBA good because he just doesn't shoot from outside. A guy of his size has got to shoot from outside to play in the NBA. Jim asks, which of the players will enter the draft and what teams will draft him? Sears is the only one, maybe. I think Jaron Stevenson, if he had had a big game like he did against Clemson, and then Alabama maybe played in the championship game and he had another one, he might shoot up draft boards. That guy is still supposed to be in high school, though. So he would almost essentially age-wise be a one and done. So I don't think him. I think Sears obviously could get drafted. I'm not sure who else will. We're gonna check on. I'm not sure if they've been in the locker room yet or not. Have you been in the locker room yet, Dunn, or are you guys waiting to go in?
We're waiting a little extended time. Losing coach goes last second, so Hurley's up there right now, or about to head that way. So we're just down the hallway from going into the locker room. Boy, when it was tied up, what was it? Just at the 12-minute mark when they battled back and tied the thing up.
Yeah,
thought they had a chance there. Thought they had a chance, and then they got doubled up the rest of the way. Finally went cold from three. Thought Alabama took it into Klingon a lot. They were playing, at him a lot, and just seemed really, really interesting. What did you think as you watched it?
Well, I mean, Bama went cold 7 of 10, 7 of the first 10 from beyond the arc, and you thought, they were dictating pace and they're hitting the threes at the pace they need to hit them. But then, you finish, what was it? So they finished 11 of 23. So 4 of their last 13, they couldn't shoot like that from beyond the arc. I mean, basically UConn matched them from 3-point land, and Alabama had to have a big advantage there. I mean, everybody says, and I made this point a couple times, everybody said at least 15 threes. Well, if you give Alabama 4 more threes, it's a 2-point game. Now, again, UConn took the air out of the ball a little bit, so they would have played differently. I still think 18-ish threes would have been enough for Alabama to win the game, but there was no scenario where they only hit 11 and win this game.
I thought they played really well. I was really happy with the effort. It ended up being to me a bigger score than the game indicated.
Yeah,
it was a great run through the tournament and get to the school's first Final Four, play in front of 74,000 tonight, and they've got the big bracket set here behind us now, where Purdue and UConn ready to go, which is sort of sad that it's over with, but when we get in here and talk to the players, I don't really know what to ask them, to be honest with you. You got any questions? What should I ask?
Well, the thing is, and I'll touch on the threes again. There were people that were saying they need to hit 20 threes. They only attempted 23. That was the most amazing thing in this game, is how well UConn defends on the perimeter. I mean, everybody, they got Klingon on the inside, which allows them to extend their defense on the perimeter. But, man, they are so good defensively on the perimeter.
Yeah. All right. We're heading in there now. We'll post some stuff here in a second, okay?
All right, buddy. We'll see you. Thank you for checking in. That's Jim Dunaway live with us from outside the Alabama locker room. And you can see all that at Next Round Live on social media. At Next Round Live is where all the coverage he and Little T will have there. Boy, a lot of you, we got back and forth on Purdue and UConn. Purdue will trounce UConn. According to Daryl, Bama fan says Purdue will lose by at least 10. You guys disagree on that game? I don't know. Living life. NATO should not question his coaching moves. Did a lot with the team, and the players responded. UConn's just a better team. UConn's the better team. The better team won this game. I don't think anybody's going to sit here and argue. I think the regular season showed you that. I think what they've done in the tournament has showed you that. They're the overall number 1 seed. UConn is the better team. The better team won this game tonight. You just hoped, if you're Alabama, it was like, you play this game 10 times, you might win it once. You just hope tonight was that one, right? And UConn's the better team, man, and they are incredible. As Towney says, 4 or 5 more threes doesn't translate to 12 or 15 more points. You didn't negate some of your twos. Alabama wasn't making anything. I mean, yes, I realize what you're saying there. It would negate some of your twos, but Alabama went stone cold from the field. I mean, my goodness. I was going to go back and pull up the play-by-play if I could. Just the missed shots in the under 4 after the under 4 timeout that Alabama had. They just couldn't make anything. So at the 5-minute mark, it was a 10-point game. Sears missed a layup. This is everything from the field. Grant Nelson missed a jumper. Everything Alabama had was the free throw stripe. Rylan Griffin turned it over. Sears made the three-pointer at 2:54, so there's one. Nelson missed a layup. Griffin missed a three-pointer. You had the Sears missed free throw. Nelson made a layup, so there's two. And then Nelson tipped one in. So after the 5-minute mark, Alabama made 3 field goals. So you weren't getting a ton of twos there after the 5-minute mark because Alabama wasn't making a ton. Logan, he says he was not a Hurley hater until tonight. Guy is difficult to like, and I'm not just saying that because they outcome the game. We've said that all week on the show. He is difficult to like. I thought Lance made a great comparison that they could be the next Duke because they're really good, number one. They're going to win some national championships, number two. They may win another one. And number three, they have a very unlikable coach. Very unlikable coach. Shmoo, the Castle kid, had a hell of a night. Indeed, he did. Let me pull up his numbers here. 7 of 13 from the field, 21 points, 5 boards. He did play a heck of a game. He was fantastic for UConn. There's no doubt about that. Jeremy, UConn beat the hell out of everyone in the tournament and will probably beat the hell out of Purdue. I do not think they will, but they have. Yes. The first part is yes. The second part is I don't know. Logan asked, and I think he's talking about what Hurley said after the game. Purdue and UConn clearly the 2 best teams of the past 2 years. What are my thoughts? I mean, Purdue was really, really good last year. They just had that weird upset in the first round. I don't know who I would definitively say was better than Purdue last year. I mean, when you looked at the Final Four, it was UConn, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and Miami. Were any of those teams definitively better than Purdue? No. Alabama was the overall number 1 seed. Were they definitively better than Purdue? I don't think so. I also don't know that you could say 100% that those are the 2 best teams. Maybe Houston, Blake says. Sorry, hit the wrong one. Blake says maybe Houston. Yeah, maybe. But Houston just consistently can't perform in this tournament. Yeah, GW, and I know a lot of people got upset with Hurley after the game, saying they decided to put they decided to guard him soft, basically talking about Klingon. I don't know how Alabama could guard him. I mean, they don't have anybody that could play with him. He's just that good, man. And Alabama doesn't have the height to stick with him. So, I don't know what Alabama was going to do other than bomb a bunch of threes. Drew, Alabama underperformed last year. That team would have a better shot at winning. I guess he means like if you had a Brandon Miller. Maybe so. As Bobby says, Houston just has some games, so their offense is non-existent. He's absolutely right about that. They just, and I know they had the injury to their best player, but boy, they do. They have a lot of games where they just disappear on offense. Their defense is so good, but they disappear on offense. Logan points out Bediako. I don't know, he'd have been another body on the inside. There's no doubt. Jeff says in 3 of the last 4 years, Bama lost in the tournament to a Final Four or better team. UCLA, San Diego State, and Purdue. And UConn. That's true. Everybody they've lost to. UCLA went to the Final Four. San Diego State went to the national championship game. UConn went to the national championship game. That is a great point. Let's see. I was going to dig back here a little bit. When we were talking to Dunaway, I saw a bunch of guys jump by here. Let me dig back before we wrap things up. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second, please, as I dig back through all these comments. Man, a lot of you guys, it was so back and forth on this UConn Purdue. Living life, UConn's going to load the wagon and take down Purdue. Paul asked a good question. What are expectations now for Bama now that they finally made it to the Final Four? Well, the expectation is you get back. I mean, that's just the way it works. It's one of those deals that once you break that lid there that has been over this Alabama program for decades, the expectations by fans is you're going to get back. Look, if they bring back a lot of these guys, and a lot of them have eligibility, if they bring back a lot of these guys, there's going to be an expectation that Alabama goes back next year. And I don't, I think a lot of people, when the preseason rankings come out, depending on who sticks around, Alabama's bringing in some good young players as well. But depending on who sticks around, this is going to be a preseason top 10 team, I would think. That's exactly what Blake's saying right now. If Sears comes back, I think it should be a preseason top 10 team. I would agree completely. You got Nate Oates back. The only guy you won't have potentially is Estrada. So, I think the expectation next year for Alabama is to compete for a 1 seed, to compete for a Final Four. Now, look, you've got an entire history of your program that hasn't been there. So to think you're going to go back-to-back years probably is a bit overambitious. But I do think this is going to be a very, very good team next year that, again, has shown that you are capable of doing this, right? I mean, that's what you would want. But you saw it with Auburn. They got to the Final Four. I thought, okay, that team, Bruce Pearl has a team now that is going to consistently challenge for the Final Four. They haven't even really come close to challenging for the Final Four since then. It just shows you it's hard to do. And Tennessee's had some really good teams recently. They can't even get to the Final Four. So, I mean, it's Kentucky signs great class after great class. They can't get to the Final Four. So, I mean, it is hard to do, man. It is hard to do. And the SEC is only getting tougher. You're adding Oklahoma and Texas. I think Todd Golden has Florida on the ascension. I don't think, Tennessee and Auburn and Alabama are going anywhere at all. I think those are still going to be, that's your top teams over the last 5 or 6 years. I think they'll still be the top teams. So it's going to be a difficult conference. That's the beauty about the NCAA tournament, though. It was a difficult conference this year. Alabama finished tied for second in that conference, got a 4 seed, and still made the Final Four. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, you play in tough conferences. The Big 12 was thought to be the best conference in the country by a lot of people. They didn't even have a team in the Elite Eight. The Big East was really good. They get 3 teams in, but you see one of them is about to play for the national championship. So, as Landmine Believer says, the Final Four seal has been broken, and you hope that means more soon. As Bama JT says, Bama's got the number 4 class coming in. So some good recruiting there. Blake, pretty crazy. Bama made a Final Four in football and basketball in the same season. I would agree. That is pretty crazy. Change coaches in one, extend the coach in the other. So you get to keep one coach around. All right, that's going to do it for Alabama basketball this year. Wild run to end the season. To play the way they did in the NCAA tournament and win the season is insane. And go to the Final Four for the first time in school history. I think obviously when you look back at it, you say ultimately successful season. Didn't always go the way you wanted it to go as an Alabama fan, but ultimately a successful season. You made the Final Four. That's what it is all about, what you do in March. And in March, Alabama played their best basketball, and you hope Nate Oates can figure out a way to do that on a consistent basis. He's Sweet 16, and Final Four in 3 of his 4 NCAA tournament appearances. So a historic year for Alabama basketball. MyBookie.ag has brought us all the coverage. Stay tuned there at Next Round Live, and you can catch more from Dunaway and Little T there in the Alabama locker room. Get some reaction from them. Get some reaction from Nate Oates on the podium, all at Next Round Live on social media. That's where you want to stick around and get everything from the Alabama locker room as the Crimson Tide falls to UConn in their first ever Final Four appearance. So all of that at Next Round Live, and everything presented by MyBookie.ag. Code Next Round when you sign on at MyBookie.ag. Get that sign-on bonus. Win once with it. It is yours and yours forever. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag. Code Next Round. MyBookie.ag. Code Next Round. All right, everything from here on going to be on social media and our YouTube channel at Next Round Live. Give us a thumbs up, please. Share us, like us, and make sure you've set your alerts and subscribed on our YouTube channel. We appreciate you doing that. It helps us a ton. All right, we'll see all of you guys live Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Check out Next Round Live across all of our social media platforms. for everything from the Bama locker room and from the podium with Nate Oates. Have a great night, everybody. See you Monday.